The fluorescent lights in Crestwood Middle School hummed, a sterile buzz that seemed to follow Ethan Miller everywhere. It was a bleak Tuesday morning in late October, the kind where the sky looked like dishwater and the wind carried the first, bitter promise of winter. Ethan Miller was 12 years old, with a mop of light brown hair that always seemed to have a cowlick, and eyes the color of, well, faded denim. He was on the skinny side for his age, the kind of kid who preferred the back row, hoping to blend into the wallpaper. But today, Ethan was wearing something different. Today, he was wearing his dad's shirt. It was a plain black t-shirt, faded almost gray from countless washes. Across the back, in bold, white letters arching around a winged skull, it read, "Hell's Angels." It was the only thing Ethan had left of his father, who had died in a motorcycle accident just 3 months before. The shirt still held a faint scent of leather and motor oil, a smell that brought Ethan a sliver of comfort. Before we go any further, if you believe in second chances, standing up for what's right, and the power of community, make sure you hit that like button, drop a comment, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments. Because stories like this prove that humanity still thrives in every corner of the world, Ethan made it exactly 14 steps through the front doors of Crestwood Middle before Principal Eleanor Davies spotted him. She was a severe woman, somewhere in her 50s, with silver hair pulled back so tight, it seemed to lift her eyebrows into a state of permanent disapproval. Mr. Miller," she said, her voice as cold as the October wind. "What exactly do you think you're wearing?" Ethan glanced down at his shirt. "It's just a t-shirt, ma'am." It was my dad's. Principal Davies' lips thinned into a razor-sharp line. "That's gang paraphernalia, and it has absolutely no place in my school. Remove it immediately, or face the consequences." Ethan felt his stomach drop through the floor. "But ma'am, it's all I have left of him. He passed away 3 months ago." "I don't care about your personal circumstances," she replied, her voice unyielding. "Rules are rules. You have until the end of first period to change, or you will be expelled." By 2 o'clock, Ethan was expelled. His mother, Susan, a waitress at the local diner who worked double shifts just to keep the lights on, arrived at the school. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but her spine was forged from steel. "You expelled my son for wearing his dead father's shirt." Her voice was low, dangerous, a simmering volcano. "The Hell's Angels are a gang," Principal Davies replied, her tone flat and devoid of any empathy. "I have a responsibility to all students." Susan wanted to scream, to tell her that her husband was a mechanic, a little league coach, a good man who'd help anyone in need. But she was exhausted, so incredibly tired. She took Ethan's hand, and they walked out into the bleak October afternoon, the wind whipping around them. What she didn't know was that someone had been watching. Marcus, a Hell's Angel who had known Ethan's father for 20 years, was picking up his nephew at the elementary school next door. He saw Susan and Ethan walking out, saw the defeat in their slumped shoulders, saw the familiar winged skull on Ethan's back, a beacon of loss. By evening, every Hell's Angel within a 200-mile radius knew Ethan's story. The school board meeting was scheduled for Thursday night. It was supposed to be routine, just budget discussions and the usual parent complaints about the cafeteria food. But at 6:30, something happened that no one expected. It started as a distant rumble, like thunder rolling in from the horizon. Then it grew louder, deeper. The windows began to rattling. Motorcycles came down Elm Street in formation, headlights blazing. Like a river of fire, Harleys, Indians, and custom choppers, their engines roaring in synchronized thunder. 100, then 200, and then 500. They kept coming. By 7 o'clock, 1,000 motorcycles surrounded the community center, 1,000 Hell's Angels from chapters all over the country. They parked their bikes, removed their helmets, and walked inside. Marcus led the way, his boots heavy on the floor. Each step an echo in the suddenly silent room. "My name is Marcus," he said, his voice booming, carrying through the hushed room. "I was brother to David Miller for over 20 years. We rode together. We laughed together." He paused, his eyes finding Ethan, still wearing his father's shirt. David Miller was a good man. He fixed motorcycles for people who couldn't afford to pay. He helped veterans find work. He coached Little League because he believed every child deserved a chance. Marcus turned to the board, his gaze locking onto Principal Davies. "And you expelled his son for wearing his shirt, for honoring his memory, for keeping his father close to his heart." The room was silent. You could hear a pin drop, one by one. Hell's Angels stepped forward. They spoke of David Miller, the food drives he organized, the families he helped, the strangers he stopped to assist, the lives he touched. Then, Marcus reached into his vest and pulled out an envelope. "We took up a collection," he said, handing it to Susan. "For Ethan's college fund, because that's what David would have wanted." Susan's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $50,000. Her knees buckled. Ethan caught her. "You expelled a 12-year-old for loving his father," Marcus said, his eyes never leaving Principal Davies. "Think about what kind of lesson that teaches." The board voted unanimously to reinstate Ethan. They rescinded the dress code policy and issued a formal apology. Principal Davies resigned the following week. The next Saturday, a convoy of motorcycles rolled up to the Miller house. They brought tool, lumber, and paint. They fixed the sagging porch, painted the shutters, installed a new water heater. They transformed the house. The women brought groceries, fresh vegetables, meat, and milk, enough to fill the refrigerator twice over. At the end of the day, Marcus knelt down to look Ethan in the eye. "Your father was our brother. That means you're our family. You ever need anything, you call us. You're never alone. Ethan, never." For the first time since his father died, Ethan felt like he could breathe. And before we end this story, we have one special request. Comment below with the words, "Family is not blood. Family is choice," to show you stand with Ethan and all children unfairly judged. Because sometimes, the people who look scariest have the biggest hearts. This story reminds us to never judge by appearances. That grief deserves to be honored, not punished. That community means showing up when it's hard. Sometimes, the roar of 1,000 motorcycles is the sound of love. If this touched you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs a little hope, and subscribe for more stories that restore your faith in humanity. Because family is about who shows up when you need them most. And for Ethan Miller, 1,000 Hell's Angels showed up and changed everything.